Welcome back. Now, every year there is a big focus on mental health, and in fact, with the pandemic, mental health is top of the agenda. If you were watching BBC during May, you'll have seen this documentary on Tony Slattery. Tony went along to a top psychologist to assess his mental health. And actually, he had a surprising counsel, which was to look more at his lifestyle, and that would then improve his mental health. And we're going to talk today with Graham Phillips about the link between something called metabolic syndrome and mental health. And it will help, hopefully, lots of people out there avoid the worst effects of dealing with the pandemic. So join us over the next 10 minutes whilst we discuss the link between metabolic health and mental health. So welcome back, Graham. You probably didn't see the documentary, but I think there's been quite a few documentaries where they've linked bad lifestyle, for example, alcohol, and poor mental health. What are you seeing out there? And first of all, can you explain what metabolic syndrome is and how it might have this negative effect on mental health?
Yeah, so it's called various names: insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, syndrome X. It all comes down to the same thing. Essentially, it's born of a lifestyle with poor sleep, lack of exercise, but specifically eating a diet high in sugar, carbs, and processed foods. And that forces the body to respond. That excess of sugar in the bloodstream raises your insulin, so that it's the insulin that sweeps the sugar out of the bloodstream, where it's then sent to the liver and it's processed to fat. And that's why it's sugar that makes you fat, and it isn't fat that makes you fat. If you're permanently pumping up your blood sugar, your body's response is to permanently raise insulin, or hyperinsulinemia, and then eventually you become resistant to the insulin, and that's type 2 diabetes. So this one single aspect of raised insulin is the root cause of all these diseases. It leads to overweight, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, dementia, cancer, and all sorts of other inflammatory processes. So a single root cause is causing all these problems. It's almost like buy one, get about 20 free.
So the brain is an organ. So what would be the effects of metabolic syndrome on your brain function?
Well, interestingly, just like the rest of the body, the brain can become insulin resistant. And that may well explain some of the problems that ultimately lead to dementia. But you have to understand two other aspects. One is that sugar, and fructose in particular, excites the same neural pathways, the dopamine pathways, as cocaine. So there is a genuine food addiction. It's a genuine thing, particularly that sugary, carby diet. It causes an addiction. It causes continual dopamine spikes, and you then get withdrawal. So your mood goes up and down with your appetite, goes up and down with your sugar, and it's just the same, if you like, as a cocaine addict or an alcoholic. So that's one aspect of it. Another aspect is the important role of the microbiome. So in your gut, you've got 2 or 3 kilograms of bugs. And they're sort of talking about the microbiome now, bugs in your gut as a hidden organ. And we know that the brain signals to the gut, but we also know that the gut signals to the brain. And we all know this. We all say, I was gutted, gut feeling, gut instinct. Well, you've probably heard of the happy hormone, serotonin. And when people are depressed, we give them SSRIs, drugs to increase their serotonin levels. We also know that through the vagus nerve, there's a direct contact between the central nervous system, the brain, and the gut itself, an area called the mesentery. So what? Well, the so what is this? The bugs in your gut are responsible for producing 95% of your serotonin. So 95% of serotonin isn't actually found in the brain, it's found in the gut. If you kill the bugs off, the ones who produce the serotonin, you can kind of see how you won't be such a happy body, how you won't be such a happy person. So you can see the direct links here with A, the addictive propensity of the sugar, but B, messing with your microbiome and destroying the bugs that produce the serotonin, which give you mood and happiness.
And with people that are under stress and anxiety, can that have a bad effect in the way that they manage their eating and lifestyle?
Yeah, it's quite well known, for example, that depressed people, even if they're not overweight, often have metabolic syndrome. So when you're stressed, your body thinks that you're about to be eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, and it dumps a load of blood in your bloodstream to give you that instant energy to fight the tiger. Because there is no tiger, but if you're permanently stressed, you've permanently got the body adding extra sugar to the bloodstream to fight the tiger that isn't there. Extra sugar is extra insulin. Extra insulin is, guess what? Metabolic syndrome. So you'll kind of see this unhealthy alliance between stress and diabetes and stress.
You know, I know we had a poster recently in one of the blogs with Hangry, which was a chocolate manufacturer's slogan.
Yeah, hangry is a real thing. So what then happens is you raise your sugar and then you raise your insulin, and in the end you've got insulin permanently raised. And when you don't eat, your blood sugar drops below the normal level, and you get that irritable and lightheaded feeling that we've all experienced between meals. And I used to have it all the time. So it's hungry and a bit irritable, hangry. And yes, absolutely it does exist. But I tell you what, once you go onto the pro-longevity program, that goes away within a month and you will feel so much better. Your mood will be much more even, your weight will come down, everything improves, but your just sense of well-being improves within weeks.
So you talked about sleep just then. What would the pro-longevity program do for someone that really isn't getting the best sleep, and how does that affect the mental health?
So we've done a whole video on sleep, and I'm going to make this relatively brief, and I hope people will then refer to the longer video that we've done. But essentially it's like this: when the body is short of sleep, it's this kind of a mechanism for our hunter-gatherer days. The body thinks it's starving, and it wants instant energy, and it will tend to raise your insulin, and it will tend to want sugary processed foods, and it's much harder to resist all of that kind of thing. So short sleep translates ultimately towards a greater propensity to metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, stress, and all the rest of it. And of course, all these things have a negative synergy and certainly don't help your mental health. We all know that.
What is your final advice to someone that is suffering anxiety and depression, maybe has all the classic signs of obesity and pre-diabetes? What would you say is a recipe for their best mental health? So
that's very individual, and that's where the pro-longevity program really comes in. I'm quite happy to have individual chats with people. They can fill out a risk assessment, and we can determine for them where the problems lie, because there's no simple one-size-fits-all solution. Let's find out for you what matters, where you want to be, and how we can help you.
If you enjoyed that, you want to know more about Graham's program, Pro-Longevity, join our Facebook group, and you can also get invitations to some of the private webinars he runs and free assessments too. So from myself and Graham Phillips, bye for now.
Bye now.